But it also brings me to this thought that I've had about Ohio State and Clemson, because I've had so much fun with this the last week. First, there's the history. You get the throat punch from Woody of Charlie Bauman, 1978, in a game that they don't just lose in the Gator Bowl, but is the first 10-win season in Clemson history. And then fast forward 30 years, you're talking about Clemson beating Ohio State the last 3 times they played each other. And now we're here where Dabo, I swear, I'm watching the Zoom, right? I'm in it. And I'm listening to Dabo say we have tremendous respect for Ohio State. You know, it's not so much a rivalry. It's anytime we are playing against Ohio State, we're playing for championships, right? Whether it's Fiesta Bowl or playoff contention. And then the next day, he ranks Ohio State number 11 in his coaches poll. And then goes on First Take the following day to talk about how little, Ohio State has played, and it's probably easier for us to scout them because, well, they've only played 6 games, so we don't have to watch that many games. And then this morning, Kevin Wilson, he of OU stock, comes over the top and says, I was really not actually looking forward to this until, I'm watching Citadel film of Clemson on my anniversary with my wife to prepare for this game. Yeah, soft schedule we had. And I'm thinking, why are you doing this, Dabo? Like, where did this come from? Because there's no reason for Dabo to really hate Ohio State or even talk trash about them. So I'm going to ask you, am I missing something?
No, you're not. And when I saw it come out, I couldn't believe it. If I'm a Clemson fan and we walk out of the semifinal game a loser to Ohio State, my irrational side isn't going to kick in for a few days. My rational side is not going to kick in for a few days. My 100% of my blame is going to go to Dabo for giving them that bulletin board material. Like, you don't have to do that.
And double down and triple down.
To do that. In fact, your rankings don't matter. Put yourself 8 and put Ohio State 1. I mean, that's the Nick Saban approach. He, and some of those old coaches, they build up your opponent like it's the best team they've ever played in the history of the world.
Right.
And that's the approach you got to take. I mean, they just given Ohio State a touchdown with that number 11 ranking.
Oh, dude, and I found this video that ain't supposed to be out there that's circulating. A kiddo took film of Ryan Day ahead of the Big Ten championship game, giving the pep talk, and he sent 2 games, guys. Two games be national champs. You give us Alabama, you give us Clemson, you give us Notre Dame, we're gonna beat their ass. Like, he's in it, and that's out there. And I'm thinking, they really want Clemson. And like when I was doing this big story about Justin Fields last month, and I got to talk with his father, talked to a bunch of people around him, folks that train both him and Trevor. What was made clear is that they both want to play against each other, and they're not friends, but they're not enemies either, right? They came up with each other. They're yin and yang. They understand they need each other, Batman, Superman style, right? To demonstrate just how good one is, you need the other one to balance. But Ohio State wanted to get back to this game specifically in such a visceral way. And I wrote about this at foxsports.com, and Ryan Day says, couldn't make this story up, if we had the best storytellers. And me, with my English degree background, my master's in writing, I decided to turn that into a dramatic structure and demonstrate how, we got a lead, I got a conflict, we have a climax, we have a conclusion, and now we're about to get to our resolution. Because, after Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence are gone, you restart this thing over again. But I'm looking around, I'm going, Nick Saban was always, as you say, really good about saying nothing about his opponent. Just being bland and say, no, they're really good. This is why they're really good. Be a tough challenge for us. We know that Alabama's going to stomp Notre Dame. He doesn't need to tell us that. We know that. And then I think about Lane Kiffin at Florida Atlantic and how he'd be like, yeah, they're just bigger, they're faster, they're better. Oklahoma ought to win, 7 to 8 national championships. And some of that is tongue-in-cheek, but some of that is just him, I guess, making fun of the way that Saban and others used to talk about their opponents. Because you're not supposed to win that game if you're Florida Atlantic. Like, I think about that a lot when it comes to Kiffin. Because he played Ohio State and Oklahoma in back-to-back years. Now he's at Ole Miss. And he Nobody wanted to beat Alabama more than he did. And he nearly got it done. So I'm thinking, if you're healthy and you're Ohio State, and it seems like they will be, what is to stop you from not just winning this game, but trying to run up the score? Like, let's say, for lack of a better, like it goes like a playoff game in which we think it's going to be close, and then one team just destroys the other team. Do you think that he lets up? I wouldn't.
Well, I think last year, a lot of us thought Ohio State was the one school out there that might have a chance to slow down or potentially upset LSU. And we certainly thought they were going to slip by Clemson. I didn't think it was going to be easy, but I thought they would ultimately win that game. And honestly, they should have. They had every opportunity.
Right. This
year is cathartic. I mean, this is their chance. And I'll be very surprised if Ohio State doesn't win this game. And I think, again, for cathartic reasons, if they're up 10 and they're on the 8-yard line with 1:12 to go, and math says they can take a knee, I think they might throw it into the end zone.
No, I'm with you. Like, I'm thinking about the Nebraska game early on when Justin Fields got pulled for Jack Miller, and they're on the goal line. Jack Miller's a true freshman, gets his first opportunity to go score as a Buckeye and a quarterback. And Scott Frost was asked about it after the game. He says, do you think Ryan Day ran up the score? And Frost said, if we wanted the score to be different, we should have done something about it on the field, which is my whole heart. Like, that's where I am. If you want to have something to say about this, like, because if they drop back to pass, you ought to stop them. You ought to do something about it. Because like, I'm not gonna lay down in that instance so you can get your style points and your garbage points on me. Golly, like I've never been so fired up to watch a game all year, just because Dabo Swinney has decided to make this into an affair when it didn't have to be. Like, nothing about these playoffs, nothing about these rankings seems dramatic. I'm rooting for the teams to go undefeated because I want some controversy at the top. But it also led me to this, because as you very well know, I've been doing some deep dives into history of all sorts. Did you know that Penn State went undefeated for 2 straight years without a national championship?
Yeah, back when they were an independent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, when people talk about Central Florida, be better, I'm like, Penn State did this. We still didn't. And it gets better because, like, I think I've told you this, and I might have told this story before, but I'm going to tell it for context. Penn State's undefeated in back-to-back years with an opportunity to go undefeated once more when Richard Nixon says he's going to give a plaque to the winner of Texas-Arkansas and proclaim them the national champ. Joe Paterno hears about this and says, you're going to do what? We're undefeated. It's like, well, I tell you what, you guys are riding a 29-game winning streak. We'll give you a plaque for the longest winning streak in the nation. And Penn State fans, like 90,000 letters stream into the White House going, are you blind? Are you high? What is wrong with you? And then later, after Watergate, Joe Paterno says, hey, I never understood how Richard Nixon could know so much about college football and not enough about Watergate. What? Like, that's what we were dealing with. I had no idea. Until I started reading about this year. So I'm rooting for carnage.
Yeah, people weren't less passionate about college football back then. It's ramped up media-wise and all that stuff, but no, it's just as crazy.
No, and it's also getting to this point to where it's ridiculous because 1966, you got 3 teams with a claim to the national championship because Michigan State and Notre Dame ended in a 10-10 tie, right? And Alabama goes 11-0, but because politics are the way that they are, you have opinion polls with most of your writers located north of the Mason-Dixon line who grew up loving Notre Dame.